Greeting comrades and welcome back to channel. Sorry. You know, in a horror movie, when the hero finally gets the upper hand and manages to kill the bad guy or the monster, you get this sense of relief. You sit there and you think to yourself, wow, I'm so glad that this ordeal is finally over. I get to relax. Of course it was a fake out, you fool. The character was never really safe. I mean, you really think that a few bullets is going to stop the walking abomination who's been proven to be an unstoppable killing machine? That's kind of how I feel about Kotaku. Only if you replaced unstoppable killing machine with, I don't know, something like herpes or something else that's equally as disgusting and incredibly annoying. Kinda like communism. Yes, comrades, Kotaku is here, and they are none too happy about the recent announcement of Call of Duty's newest game, Call of Duty Cold War. Join me in today's video where we're going to be taking a look at Kotaku's article titled, Call of Duty Trailer Recklessly Promotes Far-Right Conspiracy Theory. And if you listen real closely, you can almost hear Kotaku's panicked communist cries. Сука, бля! There is a lot of buzz around Call of Duty's newest game announcement, and it's not just because fans of the series are excited to see what this new installment of the franchise has in store for them. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about the game itself because I was actually in the process of writing script for a different video where I'm going to be talking about the game's announcement, as well as something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while now, politics in video games and entertainment. So that video is coming, keep an eye out for it because it'll be here real soon. And with this article, I did think about just putting it into that same video, but after reading the article, it really does deserve a video all to itself. So here we are. Ian Walker, or as I'll refer to him as Captain Comrade, is the person that wrote the article that we're going to be taking a look at today. The article titled, Call of Duty Trailer Recklessly Promotes Far-Right Conspiracy Theory. Now, this article, judging by the title alone, is sure to bring glory to the motherland and bless us with the riches from the likes of Kim Jong-un and Winnie Xi Jinping Poo. I wanted to see if Ian had any other enlightening takes on his Twitter account, but sadly, well, he's locked it down tighter than a gulag. Alright, let's take a look at what Ian has to say about the horribly problematic teaser trailer that shows communists in a bad light. How dare Activision do this to these poor commies? We're going to go through a majority of this article, and it's going to be linked down in the description below. As always, I highly encourage you to check it out for yourself, that way you can form your own opinion. And after you do, I'd love to hear what you think about the article down in the comments section below. I'm sure that you're going to have just as many thoughts about it as I did. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War debut trailer, which has already attracted controversy, gives a lot of airtime to Soviet defector Yuri Bezmenov and his views which have in recent years become a dangerous rallying cry for far-right conspiracy theories and the people who peddle them. Okay, for those of you who don't know, Yuri Bezmenov, who's the man featured in the Call of Duty teaser trailer, is a Soviet defector from Russia. His family served in the Red Army, his father was a commanding officer, and Yuri himself worked with the KGB as well as the RIA Novosti. The RIA was a news agency that operated within Moscow. The reason people are so intrigued by this interview with Yuri is because he has first-hand knowledge on how a communist government like Russia infiltrates countries in order to prime them for invasion. So of course, Yuri being a man that would shed some light on communist tactics, that's clearly going to upset a few people that would rather keep that on the DL, you know, keep it real hush-hush. The teaser, which was released last week to hype up the more recent reveal, intersperses stock footage of major world events with a 1984 interview of Bezmenov, who claimed to have been an informant for the KGB before defecting to the United States. During the interview, he describes the Soviet Union's alleged use of active measures that in theory are meant to destabilize opponents without direct military conflict by the way of changing a society's power structure and economy. In short, Bezmenov's suggestion in the full interview is that extending equality to the United States non-whites, non-male population made it ripe for Soviet invasion. Now, right off the bat, you gotta love Ian's not so subtle attempt to discredit Yuri by saying something like he claimed to be an informant of the KGB who happened to defect to the US. Like, this is something that Ian can't even wrap his mind around. Somebody wanting to flee a nation that's been plagued with the hellish nightmare that is communism. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen other stories who have fled communist shitholes in the past, right? Oh, wait a minute. Yes, we have. We have definitely seen that.
My family has fled totalitarianism and communism more than once. First my dad from Spain, then from Cuba.
I am so incredibly tired of these disgustingly entitled games journalists who get up on their high horse and attempt to defend a brutal, violent, degenerate, and murderous communist regime, kind of like the one in China and in North Korea. Fuck off with this nonsense, Kotaku. I would really love to see some direct quotes of Yuri stating that non-whites and non-males are the ones who made the US ripe for invasion. What Yuri does talk about in the interview, he rightfully calls people useful idiots when referring to leftists.
Simply because, you see, the useful idiots, the leftists who are idealistically believing in the beauty of Soviet socialist or communist or whatever system, when they get disillusioned, they become the worst enemies. That's why my KGB instructors specifically made a point, never bother with leftists. Forget about these political prostitutes. Aim higher.
So I mean, if Yuri's words offend you, you might be one of those useful idiots. I mean, seeing as how his portrayal of leftists are so shockingly accurate, even to today's standards, it really makes you think. The official Call of Duty trailer refers to Bezmenov's claims as a chilling warning and implores viewers to know your history, which sure feels like a tacit endorsement of the man's deeply flawed ideology. That gosh darn history, it's just so problematic. I mean, who wants to see what we've tried in the past and have fail? But I guess if you're a commie, it's never really been tried. Real communism has never existed. Real socialism has never been tried. But when we do it, we'll do it correctly. And I love how he emphasizes in quotes that it's a chilling warning. Well, yes, Ian, it's a chilling warning because Yuri predicted exactly what's happening here in the United States roughly 3 years in advance, which is pretty damn impressive. Anyone with a brain would find that chilling. That is, unless of course you like the widespread death and destruction that is currently happening in this country. Seeing as how this is coming from a writer over at Kotaku, that doesn't really seem all that far-fetched, sadly. Also, the use of flawed ideology here is incredibly laughable, seeing as how this article is little more than a defense of communism, which has brought prosperity and justice to exactly 0 countries on Earth. The person interviewing Bezmenov in the footage is a far-right conspiracy theorist, G. Edward Griffin, who has since made a name for himself in HIV/AIDS denialism and alt-right recruitment. As a member of the John Birch Society, a famously anti-communist organization focused on establishing a more conservative government in the United States, it makes sense that Griffin would peddle Bezmenov's claims about Soviet interference by the way of social progress without any critical analysis. In Call of Duty's trailer, Activision presents Bezmenov's words bereft of this important context. G. Edward Griffin was in fact someone who denied AIDS, which is pretty fucking stupid, especially with the unquestionable amounts of evidence we now have available to us today. Just as it would be equally as retarded to deny what Yuri states in this interview. The signs are right in front of us. Mass civil unrest brought on by openly Marxist organizations like Black Lives Matter, who are self-described Marxists. Ian's attempt to discredit the interviewer Griffin doesn't end there, though. He goes on to talk about how Griffin is in fact a member of the alt-right and actively recruits to his alt-right club, the John Birch Society. The John Birch Society, in Ian's own words, an anti-communist organization, one that would like a conservative government, meaning small government, individual rights. So I guess, for a communist, individual rights, it's kind of a bad thing, so I could see why you wouldn't like it, but I guess go ahead and sign me right the fuck up. Perhaps the most important thing to look at with this paragraph is why does G. Edward Griffin even matter in this context anyway? Was the trailer about him? No. Did he have any screen time or relevance in the trailer at all? Well, no. This is nothing more than a shallow attempt to discredit Yuri himself simply because he's being interviewed by somebody who can be viewed as conspiratorial. Just because you don't like or don't agree with the interviewer doesn't mean that the interviewee does not have good points or something that's important and relevant to say. That's not how this works, Ian. But I get it, it's easier to discredit the speaker by discrediting the person that's interviewing him rather than actually refuting the points that Yuri makes, so you gotta get your points in somehow, I guess? As the name suggests, Black Ops Cold War deals with the decade-long struggle between the United States and Soviet Union, which engaged in various forms of political proxy warfare as the globe's prevailing superpowers after World War II. While Bezmenov's warnings seem like obvious fodder to amping up that conflict in-game, his appearance in the game's advertisement has functioned as a sort of dog whistle to the legion of reactionaries who consider attempts at establishing social equality to be proof of a far-right conspiracy theory known as cultural Marxism. And I have to ask, are you afraid of something being called what it is, Ian? The calls from Black Lives Matter and Antifa to tear down the American system, to tear down the country itself in the name of socialism, that kinda seems in line with cultural Marxism, don't you think? But I get it, that sounds a little too harsh. It's not the pretty sunshine and rainbow bullshit version that people like you want to attempt to sell to the public. And as we'll see here in just a moment, you're going to see where this all stems from. You're going to be given a look at who the real villain of this story is. I'm going to skip through a bit of this article here because Ian just goes on about what cultural Marxism is and why he thinks it's a good thing. He quotes a professor that says white nationalism is a bad thing, but of course black nationalism is a good thing. The link to the article, again, is in the description below. Please check it out for yourself so you get the full picture and you can really make a decision for yourself. Okay, are you ready for me to unveil the true villain behind this? Do you want to try and take a guess? It's a group so shadowy and mysterious, a group who for years has been the mastermind behind all of the patriarchy, all of it, every single patriarch to ever patriarch ever in the entire whole world ever. It's Gamergate. Gamergaters, that's what it was. No, I'm not fucking joking. These people can't let it go. They're still obsessed in trying to convince themselves that Gamergate was this online harassment campaign. I really don't know how much more evidence anybody would need to see that these journalists, they're just so completely detached from reality. The term more recently gained popularity in gaming circles thanks to what else? Gamergate. God damn it. The specter of cultural Marxism is routinely conjured to decry anything that doesn't adhere to the straight white cis male perspective. Oh my god, Ian, my boy. This is awful. Sorry. The straight white cis male perspective that has dominated the video game industry for decades, such as the introduction of playable female characters in Battlefield 5 and LGBTQ+ representation in The Last of Us Part 2. Seeing Bezmenov promoted by Call of Duty in such an uncritical way feels like a winking acknowledgement for those bullshit complaints. Wow, Ian, getting a little fiery there, getting a little fucking pissed. Well folks, we made it 8 whole paragraphs before Kotaku brought up Gamergate, so I guess they're kind of making progress? Let's give them a round of applause. I mean, at this channel, I like to give credit where credit is due, so come on folks, let's hear it for them. But let's be clear. You don't need to talk about cultural Marxism to have a discussion about corporations pandering to simpletons by using forced diversity and identity politics in games. And Captain Comrade here chooses 2 perfect examples of this: Battlefield 5 and The Last of Us Part 2. Now, if you'll remember, Battlefield 5 was a game that marketed itself as the most immersive Battlefield experience yet. But then when you see the trailer, you have bionic armed female commandos with Nordic face paint running around and a guy with a fucking samurai sword jumping out of a window. That didn't really scream World War II to people, and it didn't really help that the publisher told their would-be customers to go fuck themselves and that they were actually, let me not be hyperbolic. What they said was that you're uneducated, and if you don't like this, don't buy the game. It's not like people would have been fine with, you know, a modern day portrayal of the military where women do serve. So, just put women in that game. If you're going to make a World War II game, stick to the fucking setting, but I digress. That's a sore subject for me. I want a fucking good Battlefield game. God damn it. Anyway, sorry. The Last of Us 2, another perfect example. Neil Cuckman idealizes this grifting gaming chlamydia that is Anita Sarkeesian. Fine, jokes aside about Neil and his odd obsession with one person that's clinging to any shred of relevancy that she has left, people are critical of The Last of Us 2 because it had some incredibly bad story moments and players were not happy with the direction that the game was taking. But sure, since this is a Kotaku article, we have to say that people hated the game because of the gays and trans people. It's just those goddamn white people. We can't enjoy anything. Captain Comrade would go on in the article to claim that Yuri stated that any attempt to give minorities rights and supporting feminism is actually a communist plot, and he refused to give any direct quotes from the interview or Yuri himself, which I find incredibly odd. Ian also touches on Sargon of Akkad's take on this situation, which of course Ian didn't like either, because anybody to the right of Karl Marx is automatically a Hitler-esque nutjob. Ian also brings up an actual far-right extremist who murdered those who did not fall in line with his political goals. Obviously, this sort of behavior should be condemned by anybody. Violence is not the answer, and violent extremism from any side has no place in civilized political discourse. This right here is my favorite part of the entire article because Ian contradicts himself without even knowing it. Or perhaps he did know it and he just thought everyone was so stupid that they weren't going to notice. That's not to say that Call of Duty's publisher, Activision, is free of these kinds of gaffes, intentional or not. This is the same series, for example, that hired Oliver North as an advisor on 2012's Black Ops 2. North, formerly a Fox News host and president of the National Rifle Association, is a controversial figure in American politics. He earned the national spotlight in 1986 as a key figure in the Iran-Contra affair, which saw the United States covertly sell weapons to Iran in order to fund right-wing death squads in Nicaragua as a way of destabilizing that country's elected socialist government. North also made a cameo appearance in the game itself. When interviewed by Kotaku in 2012, Black Ops 2's developers hand-waved concerns about North's involvement. Probably because it's fucking stupid and no one's gonna make a big deal about that other than Kotaku. Ian, my hammer and sickle waving friend, you clearly understand that subversion of a government can happen, and it is a tool that governments use in order to avoid open conflict. You even use some facts here, which is shocking because I didn't know that you were capable of that, but here it is. You did it, buddy. So you clearly understand that this is a tactic that's being used, yet in one example, it's okay, but in this example, it's clearly just a conspiracy theory, even though you have somebody providing you evidence. It's, you know, it kind of reminds me of a line in the interview itself from Yuri.
Programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior.
This is a real kicker though. I mean, right here, it's just gloves off, but he's just boxing with a shadow. It's just ridiculous. There is no Jewish plot to destabilize America by burning bras or marching for equal rights. Our society won't crumble because kids are told it's okay to be gay, but in publicizing Bezmenov this way with little criticism or scrutiny of the far-right sensibilities his nonsensical worldview invigorates, Activision has given its fans a direct path to his philosophy, while also leaving out crucial contextual details that explains its origins and the dangerous effect that it has already had on the modern world. Oh, so his views are dangerous, not, you know, communism that has led to the deaths of millions of people, not just the death, but the suffering, the abject poverty and destruction that communism leaves in its wake. But sure, the man trying to save this country, the one free country left in the world from communism, he's the bad guy. His philosophy is the dangerous one. It kind of just makes me think that people like this, they just look at countries like China or Venezuela and North Korea, and they're like, man, I really want that. That's what I'm looking for. I really wish I didn't live in the most prosperous and free nation in the world. Give me some of that sweet communism. Cities across the United States are burning. We have Antifa and Black Lives Matter, again, Marxist communists calling for the destruction of capitalism and the United States. My friend, you cannot be this stupid. I refuse to believe it. This has to be a case of you just being extremely disingenuous and misleading to readers, but if that's truly the case, I'm not sure which of the two is worse. This article was created with one express purpose: to discredit Yuri and make it seem as though Activision Blizzard, of all companies, is attempting to push an alt-right white nationalist agenda. I mean, for God's sakes, Activision pulled the original trailer that included Tiananmen Square because China said, hey, we're gonna ban your game because you're showing us in a bad light. I really don't think they're trying to push an alt-right conspiracy. This entire article is a fucking farce, a tiny red shield wielded by unhinged leftists who would love nothing more than to continue pushing this narrative that socialism and communism is actually what's going to save the world. God forbid people like Ian actually get their wish in this country, because remember who's going to be the first ones to go.
When their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. They know too much. Some of them, when they get disillusioned, when they see that Marxist-Leninists come to power, obviously they get offended. They think that they will come to power. That will never happen, of course. They will be lined up against the wall and shot.
And that does it for today's video. If there's one thing I can say about Kotaku is that they provide a never-ending flow of hilarious garbage to take a look at and dissect. I mean, as long as their site exists, me and other commentators on YouTube, we're gonna have a field day of shit to work with. As always, I want to know what you think about all of this. I know I didn't really talk about Call of Duty, but if you're excited for the game, let me know down in the comments below. Do you like the direction that they're going with this so far? I mean, Cold War seems pretty cool. And also, obviously, if you have thoughts about this beautiful article that we just ripped apart, let me know down in the comments below. If you liked the video, don't forget to drop a like, and if you really want to support this channel, hit the subscribe button and share this video on social media, as it really does help me out. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, by the way, at Metal Gear Mando. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.